So, what does it truly mean to be human? It's probably one of the biggest questions we can ask. Well, today we're going to explore one really specific theological answer to that. It's a framework that tells the human story in three distinct parts: a unique creation, a pretty dramatic fall, and then a path toward restoration.
So let's start with that central question. What is the essential nature of humanity? Now, according to the framework we're looking at, the answer isn't some simple one-line definition. It's actually a story. It's a journey that starts in the kind of ideal state, goes through this moment of profound change, and then points toward a final renewal. So let's start at the very beginning.
All right, so the story kicks off at the point of origin, what was intended to be humanity's original state. This is really the foundation for the entire framework, and it's all built around one single, very powerful idea.
Okay, let's really dig into this. The core concept here is being made in the image of God. So, what does that actually mean? Well, within this viewpoint, it means we're created with individuality, and we have the power and the freedom to think and to act for ourselves. And it's important to stress, this isn't about physical looks, it's about our inherent abilities and our unique sense of self.
And this breaks it down even further. So we've got that freedom of thought and action we just mentioned. It also presents this really holistic view of a person. We're an indivisible unity of body, mind, and spirit, all one thing. But here's where it gets really fascinating. Notice the paradox. Humans are described as free beings, but at the very same time, they are completely dependent upon God for life and all else. This tension, this balance between freedom and dependence is absolutely critical for understanding what happens next.
So, we have this original state, this perfect balance of freedom and dependence. The second act of our story is all about what happens when that balance is broken. This is the central conflict in the narrative, the fall.
You see, the turning point here isn't just about breaking a rule. It's framed as something much deeper, a profound psychological shift. It was a denial of that foundational dependence we just talked about. So think of it less like just violating a command and more like a declaration of absolute self-sufficiency, a rejection of their own created nature. And in this story, that one act had immediate and catastrophic consequences.
And what's great about this slide is just how clearly it lays out the before and after. On the left, you've got the original state, a high position, that relationship of dependence, the pure image of God and life itself. And on the right, the fallen state, a fall from that high position, a denial of dependence, a marred or damaged image, and ultimately becoming subject to death. It's a total and really stark transformation.
So what did this fall actually involve? Let's take a closer look at the aftermath. Because according to this framework, the consequences weren't just for those first individuals. They have in fact rippled through all of humanity since.
The consequences really unfold like a chain reaction. First, that image of God, that unique capacity for free thought and action in harmony with a creator, it got damaged or marred. Second, humanity became subject to death. And third, and this is maybe the most critical point for everything that follows, this new fallen nature became a shared inheritance for all of their descendants. And this is the crucial takeaway. This whole thing isn't framed as just some distant historical event. No, it's presented as an ongoing condition. From this theological perspective, every person is born into this state, born with inherent weaknesses and tendencies to evil. Now, philosophically, that's a really profound claim. It suggests that the default human condition isn't one of neutrality, but one that's already tilted away from its original design.
So after setting up this pretty deep problem, where does the story go from here? Well, the narrative doesn't just end in brokenness. It moves into its third and final act, a path toward restoration.
The solution to the whole dilemma is presented in this one pivotal statement. It signals a divine intervention, an act aimed at healing that broken relationship. And that word reconciled is so key here. It's all about bringing two parties that have been estranged back together again.
And here we get the how. We see the actual mechanism for that reconciliation. The framework says that it's by His Spirit that God acts. And what's the goal? To restore the very thing that was damaged in the fall, the image of their Maker. But notice, this restoration is offered specifically to penitent mortals, which basically means those who are remorseful and are willing to turn back. This suggests that a human response is a key part of the process.
Now, this restoration isn't just a return to some passive state of being okay. It actually comes with a renewed purpose, a brand new calling. And this calling has three parts:
An upward focus, to live for the glory of God, an outward focus, to love God and one another, and a stewardship focus, to care for their environment. It's a really complete, holistic vision for what a restored human life looks like.
Which, of course, brings us to our final, really reflective question. After walking through this entire narrative, from a perfect creation, through a devastating fall, to a hopeful path of restoration, we're left to think about what it all means for us. If this is a story of humanity, then what does it mean to be fully human, right here, right now? That is something worth thinking about.